Mariners spring training on Root Sports is presented by Magic Toyota, right on Highway 99 in Edmonds.
The Mariners and the Giants meet tonight in the first of 3 Cactus League matchups this spring. Same 2 teams will go at it tomorrow in Scottsdale, and the 2 clubs will play against each other 4 times in the regular season. What I'm saying is you're going to get familiar with one another. Hi, everybody. Angie Benting here, along with our baseball analyst, Dave Valley. The Mariners, you know, they officially inked Ichiro yesterday. He did take part in practice today, but he is not in the lineup yet. We should see him this weekend. But the times of these games, Dave, it still seems so odd to me to be broadcasting a game in the spring, all of them almost, at night. Do you like the change, though?
I really do. I think a lot of the players like the night games as well because you're much more on like a regular season schedule. Your body clock, you can sleep in, you can get to the ballpark at 1, 2 o'clock, get your workout in, and then get out there on the field. But a typical spring training like I used to have long in the old days was you'd be at the ballpark at 5:30, 6 o'clock, try to get your lifting in, and then you go out on the field. So it really kind of turns your clock around. But the fact that they're starting to play more night games in spring training, I think is much more conducive to the guys getting quality rest and then getting ready to play. Plus, Angie, gets them ready for the regular season opener.
This is the weird thing, though. When are you going to play golf? I mean, if you don't play the day game, and how are you going to get in 18?
Well, if you're a pitcher, you can still go out and play full 18, especially if you're not pitching.
Well, and people don't realize, too, that if you're on the baseball schedule, you're on that all year. It's not like, I mean, you just can't all of a sudden come November go to sleep at 10 o'clock at night. It just doesn't
But
happen.
in November, then your kids wake you up to drive them to school.
But you go back to bed. After a couple consecutive games in the lineup, some of the regulars get the night off, but not all of them. Guillermo Heredia leads off. More on that in a second. Kyle Seager and Mike Zunino hold down the 3 and 4 spots in the order. Mike Margema gets the start behind the dish tonight, and the ever-inspiring Braden Bishop rounds out the lineup, playing center field. All right, but let's focus in, as promised, a little more on the guy in the leadoff spot. Guillermo Heredia wasn't even expected to be able to be on the field right now after recovering from off-season shoulder surgery. But he's weeks ahead of schedule and should be the Mariners' 4th outfielder. He had a great year last year against left-handed pitching. So, Dave, what do you think his role is going to be like here for this 2018 squad?
But I think coming into the 2018 season, I think they were planning on using Heredia in a platoon situation with Gamble out there in left field. He was excellent against left-handers, as we saw, 310, a 360 on base, a 434 slugging. Towards the end of the season, he got out there and he was playing against both right-handers and left-handers, and you saw that batting average dip. So I think his strength is really in a platoon situation. He does a tremendous job out there in the outfield. The Mariners like having young, athletic guys in that outfield, and he just absolutely fits that mold. So it's a great thing that he is healthy again. He's excited to be back. And Ange, anytime you come off of the DL, and they finally say, hey, you're allowed to play again, you feel like you're a 12-year-old kid getting ready to play that Little League game.
Yeah, and the Mariners could use some good news when it comes to the injury front. They need that, so it's good to see him ahead of schedule. Now, when we open the second inning of tonight's Mariners telecast from Peoria, Root Sports is going to switch things up a little bit and turn the broadcast over to a trio of former Major League players. Oh, boy.
Could be a scary thing.
Mike Blauer, so who'd you bring along for the ride tonight?
Okay, thanks, Angie. Yeah, it should be a lot of fun tonight, having a couple of former players here in the booth with me. We have Ryan Roland Smith, former Mariner pitcher, is going to be here. And, of course, Dan Wilson has been in camp. And, Dan, I've seen you in uniform. You've been out early in the morning, seen the dugout with the guys, so it should be a lot of fun tonight.
Yeah, it should. And it's been a great spring so far. I think guys have worked hard. They're putting themselves in a position to be prepared for the season. 3 weeks away from opening day. It's pretty exciting. So, look for things to start to ramp up here as we get closer to opening day.
And for Ryan, for you, this will be your first game here in camp. What are something that you're going to look forward to tonight?
Well, I'm looking forward to hanging out with you guys. One thing I really miss as a former player is being on that top step and having those conversations. So Dan gets to do it down here in spring training, so I'm really looking forward to that.
So, Angie, it should be a lot of fun for us. It'll be the first time we're going to do it, but we're going to spend a few innings talking baseball. Should be a lot of fun. Hopefully the fans will enjoy it.
All right, thanks so much, and I'm looking forward to this. Andrew Romine, well, he has been exactly what the Mariners were hoping he would be so far this spring, at the plate and in the field. When we come back, we're going to break down his potential role for this team in the months ahead. First pitch is just a few minutes away. to you by Magic Toyota, right on Highway 99 in Edmonds. By Safeco Insurance. Find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. And by Fred Meyer. Well, we want you to join the conversation. For up-to-date game information and live interaction, be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Check us out and stay connected with Root Sports, or you can follow us individually as well. All right, so this is how the Giants are going to play it today. Steven Duggar is leading off. Jarrett Parker. You don't see a lot of Jarretts. I'm married to one, so I always find it fascinating.
Kind of jumped off the page at you.
Exactly. Jarrett Parker batting third. Austin Slater will be out in left field. It's kind of interesting that Cueto is not going to hit for himself, and that we do have the DH in Jarrett Parker. And Trevor Brown will be doing the catching. Out on the hill, the Giants have Johnny Cueto this evening. And again, a lot of times, even though it's an American League park, sometimes they'll have the pitcher get a couple at-bats, get ready for the season. Rob Whalen will climb the hill for Seattle. So far, in 5 innings of work, Rob has an ERA of just 1.80 ERA. He's only allowed 1 hit. All right, you hear it all the time. Versatility, so important, right? Andrew Romine, he played all 9 positions on the last day of last season. So he's got versatility. But also, you want to be effective, and he has been that this spring. And
you look at any of the great teams in the game of baseball, and typically you're going to find a good, versatile utility guy. Andrew Romine has really jumped out this spring. He's hitting .389. Last year, he played 124 games and hit .233. He's battling Beckham and Mata right now, but the fact that he can probably play comfortably 7 positions out there. Forget the pitching mound and forget behind home plate, but he's going to be comfortable at all those other ones, and it gives a lot of options for a manager, plus the fact that he hits from both sides of the dish. He answers a lot of the questions that the Mariners need in that utility role.
Yeah, you think about that, the ability to switch hit and the difference that makes maybe even in late inning situations, and maybe gives him a little bit of an edge. All right, let's get you down to Peoria for first pitch. They're just about set. Dave Sims and Mike Blowers. Guys?
Angie, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. Perfect conditions for Cactus League baseball tonight as we welcome you to Peoria. 76 degrees, colorful sky, lights in effect. The Giants in town, their headliners not here, but the Mariners get a chance to get some good work in here tonight. Buster Posey, Andrew McCutcheon, and Evan Longoria, 3 of the headliners for the Giants, not in tonight's game. Rob Whalen making the start. Young man acquired from Atlanta in November of 2016. This will be his 3rd game, his 2nd start. And we are ready for action. Steven Duggar, center fielder. And we are underway. Down low, ball 1.
It was interesting talking to Jerry DiPoto the other day, and when we mentioned Rob Whalen, he's in the mix, part of the depth that they're going to need as far as the rotation goes. I'm still not sure when they're going to see Erasmo Ramirez. It sounds like they're going to go with 4 starters until, I believe he said, April 14th. But these are important outings for Whalen.
1-0 pitch. Swing and a miss.
He will mix it up. A good fastball. It will be in the low 90s. He's had pretty good command so far this spring.
Rob with 5 games with Atlanta back in 2016 and 2 games with the Mariners last year. Ryan Blackney, umpire behind home plate. Ron Culp at first, Adrian Johnson at second, and Ryan Addington, he's at third. Giants come in with a record of 4-7-2. Mariners at 5-7-1. Seager in on the grass. It's sent to center field. Braden Bishop out there. Wind not too much of a factor. Light breeze blowing towards the left. 1 out. Mariners play these Giants tomorrow over in Scottsdale. That game will be on radio. I'll bring up Gorkys Hernandez, 3 for 14 this spring. Be back on TV 1 o'clock on Sunday. Mariners will be taking on Cincinnati Reds. the camp, all the buzz today. Ichiro in uniform. I went out, was inside, put my scorebook together. I said, geez, I better go out and see if I can catch him. Got out there about 4:20. It felt like the whole complex had tilted towards the practice field. I mean, everybody, it was like they were giving something away. Everybody was running over to the Japanese media. They were all moving and caught Ichiro a couple of rounds. And the first round that I saw, he was flipping the ball nice and easy left field. And then he started driving the ball center field, right field. The next couple of rounds, drew a lot of oohs and ahs. A nice dig by Mike Ford over there as Mata retires Hernandez.
Yeah, there's going to be a crowd around him for the entire spring, I think.
Got in here this afternoon, and I think people had this. I wouldn't be surprised if people had this place staked out all night. I mean, there was 15, 20 people, lawn chairs just waiting. Hey, send them out. No, that's not going to work. Here's Jared Parker, 4 for 23 on the spring. He's DHing today.
Well, Ichiro sure is used to it, but I'm sure more than anything else, he was happy just to put a uniform back on and get out there and do his thing. It
was nice watching him interact with the guys, introducing himself to guys in the clubhouse, and then interacting. He was in the group with, I believe it was Mitch Haniger right after Nelly and Robbie Zanino and that crew swing the bat. And watching him throw, he can still bring it. Watching him do a long toss.
Yeah, not surprised.
Still got the good arm. Got the shift on for Parker. Second baseman Romines in short right field. 2-0 pitch. A lot of Giant fans here today. I find that the Giant fans travel well, just like the Cub fans and the Dodger fans here in the Cactus League. A lot of black and orange. What did they have to fall off last year? Last place, 64 and 98. Buster Posey, and as you mentioned, McCutcheon and Longoria not here. And the other thing that should not be forgotten by any stretch, we go over to Surprise. It was Maryvale last week. The Cubs, when we go over to the Cubs, Mariner fans always well represented. 2 out, nobody on, 2-2 pitch. Count runs full.
It's one of the great things about spring training right here in Arizona, Phoenix area. It's easy to travel around and follow your ball club if you want to.
Yes, indeed. You wouldn't, I don't know if you'd want to do that over Florida.
That makes it tougher, Long trips over there.
You got to go. If you got to go east to west, west to east. Here, you can get with the farthest trip you're going to have, is, even with traffic, 45 minutes to an hour. Then the left center field into the gap. Parker will get the second. Thought about shifting into a higher gear. He'll hold there with a 2-out double.
Just the second hit of the spring off of Rob Whalen. First start for Heredia in left field in the spring, and he get tangled up a little bit. Guillermo with one of the better throwing arms you're going to see. It's good to see him in the outfield this evening.
First start, one of the things Scott Service said, hey, sinking line drive, spring training, leave him alone. Coming off the shoulder.
Played into a single.
Yeah.
We'll get the next guy.
Absolutely. It's Kyle Jensen, the first baseman. 6 for 13 this spring. Giants have a battle on their hands in that National League West with the Dodgers. They've won the last 6 divisions in Arizona and Colorado. Made the playoffs last year. A 1 pitch. Breaking ball in there for strike. Whalen, 23 years old. Turned 23 on January 31st out of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, along the Delaware River. hour and a half, 2 hours north of Philadelphia. Mike Margima doing the catching tonight for the Mariners. 0-2 pitch here. Swing and a miss. Slider. Good one. Harmless base hit. When we come back, Guillermo Heredia is going to lead things off for the Mariners. Mariners and the Giants, first of 3 tilts during the spring. We'll see them a couple of times home and home during the regular season. And a big, hearty welcome back, Guillermo Heredia. Some shoulder issues. He's all cleared up and ready to go. His first start tonight, leading off for the Mariners this evening.
We've seen him DH a few times. Good to see him in the outfield tonight.
He'll be facing the guy with the best shimmy shake in all of baseball, Johnny Cueto, 32-year-old right-hander. Down to the third baseman, Darno, and throws him out. One away. Johnny, a lot of fun watching in the World Series, Kansas City with the Giants.
He's had a good career.
Yes, he has. 32 years old, a record of 122 and 83, 3.33 ERA. Deception, one of his many calling cards. There's Andrew Romine, switch hitter. Romine 7 for 18, a double and a stolen base this spring.
Trying to win the utility job. He's really played well. And he can play everywhere.
Got a chance to see Felix Hernandez as I was walking over here. He threw flat ground out in left field down on the practice field. Said he felt good. There's a quick pitch. Johnny will quick pitch you now. Felix said take a day off, another session, get into the bullpen. So move forward here in the spring. Ball and 2 strikes. Scott Brocious paying attention. So what was it, Colorado? There was a quick pitch to their left there under Russin. Quick pitch.
Yes.
Johnny Cueto and Oliver Perez. Anybody else come to mind in recent vintage that does that? I don't see it often.
I remember Kenny Rogers used to do it. You know what's interesting about the quick pitch is it seems that they always throw a fastball doing that.
Yeah, you figure you're sitting there, you're not geared up, you're not loaded.
They're trying to catch you relaxed instead of trying to rush the fastball up there. I think Jamie Moyer actually used to do it from time to time, not a lot.
Struck him out, 2 down. Jeff Samardzija will start tomorrow for the Giants. Here's Kyle Seager. Hope to see Ichiro maybe on Sunday. That'll be here against Cincinnati. Kyle 7 for 17, 412 batting average, no homers, 1 RBI thus far in spring.
They have the shift on with Kyle hitting. You mentioned his batting average this spring. A big part of that is he has hit the ball the other way, taking advantage of the defense, and something Edgar was talking to me about.
Comes the 0-2. There's a quick pitch. He's slick. He is slick. And he didn't throw a fastball that time.
That was breaking ball.
2 strikeouts. Johnny Cueto, top of his game in the first inning.
The Timbers.
Second inning of tonight's Mariners telecast from Peoria. Root Sports is going to switch things up a little bit and turn the broadcast over to a trio of former Major League players. So for the top of the second, we're going to go ahead and hand it over to Mike Blowers, Dan Wilson, and Ryan Rowland-Smith. And 2 of the 3 were teammates with Ichiro.
That's absolutely correct, Angie, and it wasn't me, by the way. But Dan, you were teammates when Ichiro first came over, and I was looking at his numbers in 2001. It was an impressive year, to say the least.
It wasn't a bad year for him, and I tell you what, it was great to see him today. I got a chance to see him in the Mariners batting cage, and along with his interpreter Alan Turner, who also was with Ichiro at the time, and so kind of old home week, and getting a good chance to see him. His hair's a little grayer, but it's still Ichiro, and what a joy it was to see him, give him a hug, and he's just, I mean, I could tell on his face, he's just really, really excited to be here and be a part of this.
He looks like, as far as his body goes, it's the same. The shape that he was in then is the same now. He hasn't changed even though he's 44 years old.
Yeah, he looks the same, and I saw him swinging in the cage, taking some pitches off the machine, and his swing appears very similar to what it was, and it's going to be super exciting to see him get out there and get some action and be a leader on this team, and it's great to have him back.
And Ryan, for you, was 2007 your first year?
Yeah, 2007.
He only hit 351 that year.
Yeah, he did okay. That's for sure.
What were some of your thoughts about Ichiro? And actually, once you get through talking about playing with him coming back here now.
Yeah, coming back now, I feel like, when you see him in the clubhouse today, just for that day one, he's taking on that leadership role. And that's something that he had a little bit of that back in 2007. By that point, when he had, 6-7 years in at that point, in that same clubhouse. But just watching his interaction and just, hearing some of the thoughts from the guys who have played with him recently from the Yankees and the Marlins, I feel like he's taking on that leadership role now, which is great to see. Because, I mean, it's not very often as a player to get a chance, whether you're a pitcher, a hitter, or whatever you are, whatever your position is on that 25-man roster, to be around greatness. You're around greatness every single day, and to see him do his, the little things, the routine, and everything else. They're the things I remember about him. But now that he's taken on that leadership role, that's pretty evident from day one. It's going to be fun to watch.
It was funny. Dave was talking about watching him take batting practice today, and he said his first round he was hitting the ball the other way, hitting the line drives the other way. And it made me think right away, Dan, going all the way back to 2001 and his first spring training right here. At the time, I was doing radio at the time,
right,
getting a chance to watch, and I was down here. And I'll never forget Lou talking about him. And I can't remember how far we were into camp, but it seemed like it was a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was at least a week.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
He was, he was wearing out the third baseman. He was wearing out the shortstop and was hitting balls hard, but was not pulling anything. And, of course, we know Lou, and Lou loved the long ball. He loved guys that could hit for power. And we saw Ichiro in batting practice who could really launch the ball.
Yeah,
he can really launch. And, I think he finally just went up to Ichiro and said, are you ever going to hit the ball on the right side of second base? And, Ichi, that's the thing. He just had this system. He had his way of doing things. And I think it was that game where
it was.
He went up there and
show me that you can pull it one time.
And he pulled it in the bullpen or over the bullpen.
Yeah.
And I think Lou was, he gave it one of the all right, and it was good stuff. But he's that kind of guy. I think that's the thing for me as I had a chance to watch him, and Ryan, you too, like just the incredible bat control that the guy had, and being able to hit the ball to left field, and just I don't think you could teach the way he hits because he's got that so distinct where he's running the first, but he could hit the ball the other way so well.
It's amazing to me, and this is something I ended up playing over in Japan, and a lot of the hitters. You wouldn't teach it here, but over there, especially the guys that are lead off, second in the lineup, guys that can run, they would teach them to do that, especially if they're left-handed. And the thing for me, after seeing all that, and Ichiro was at the time in the other league from where I was at, so I didn't get to play against him. Just heard a lot about him. The thing that surprised me, though, was being down here in spring training, and you mentioned him hitting the ground ball to the shortstop. Because of the way that he would kind of lean towards first and swing, how quickly he would get down the line.
Yes.
And he surprised a lot of people and stole a lot of hits, especially when he first came over here, because of his ability to do that, because he could get down the line better than anybody I've ever seen.
Is it true, though, in that first year, and tell me if this is the real deal or not, he didn't want to show off his ability to other teams in spring training? Is that true? Or
there's
what?
probably some truth to that. I had not heard that, but I'm sure there's probably some truth to that because he's, when he came out, I think you're right. And to Mike's point, like he did surprise a lot of guys. I think it was the 2001 All-Star game in Safeco Field where he led off the game and beat Randy to the bag. I think it was Randy, to the first base bag. And it surprises people. And I think when you're on defense and you get that routine ground ball at short, but you look up and Ichiro's almost to the bag, that makes it makes for a hurried throw for sure.
Yeah, I think we're here in spring training now, and you'll see it's strange to see some of the errors, especially throwing errors, and a lot of it is because you don't know a lot of the players that you're playing against, and even some of the veteran guys will look up and rush throws and do things. But once you get into the season, you have a clock in your head, and you feel that you know how much time you have, whether you have to charge the ball or not. And Ichiro, to me, was always ahead of that clock, always. And there were so many plays, I wonder sometimes with replay now, when he was back, and how many close plays at first that he would have actually beat it out and gotten that call that they were called out at the time.
Yeah, and to your point too is that if he's surprising infielders with his speed, he's surprising umpires with his speed as well, and they're getting calls that they would normally make, and he's getting to the bag, and I think it made it difficult on umpires as well. I mean, for him to come in and take the league by storm like he did was
stole
unbelievable.
56 or 58 bases
Crazy.
in 2001 too.
Yeah.
And he always had these little goals every year. I remember one year, I think it was 2008, 2009, he wanted to lead the league in outfield putouts. So he was, Raul Ibanez is in left field, just not getting any action whatsoever. And he's turning around looking at the bullpen, putting his hands up because Ichiro's just running him down in front of left field. But just back to the bat control, I remember in spring training, I think it was my second or third year, and Ken Barron was his translator down the dugout. And I remember Ichiro came down the end of the dugout, whispered something to Ken. And I had to know what he said because Ken, was giggling, like a little kid. And I was like, what did he say? He goes, just watch. And I said, okay. and basically he said what he was going to do. And you talk about that back control. So he tried to fake the bunt, bring the third baseman, and then boom, straight over the third baseman's head. And as easy as that looks, that's not easy, right?
It's not easy.
Yeah, man. I mean, just little things like that. The things he did was amazing.
Well, the thing I think about, and D. Gordon, I think was one of the guys that has talked about his leadership in the clubhouse lately because D was able to play
in
with
Miami.
Yeah. And I'm wondering how that's going to play out with Ichiro playing in the outfield, D. Gordon playing in the outfield, learning that new position, and he's done an outstanding job. But just having Ichiro, someone he knows, someone he trusts out there, kind of alongside of him, it's got to be a huge lift for D out there in center field.
Well, one of the things that we know about Ichiro is he's tireless with his work ethic. And that's something that we've seen from D. Gordon, too, so far. I was so impressed with D yesterday, and one part of it was throwing the runner out at third base. Okay, I didn't know he had that type of arm, which was great to see, to get the guy at third. But the thing that was impressive to me is to watch the replay, and as the catcher was coming up to throw and made a poor throw to second base, he was already moving in to back that play up, which was to me was terrific for somebody that is making a position change, because I think when you first go out there and you're so concerned about covering right, left, and there it is, you see the throw, and he's already moving in on it, and then a strong, accurate throw into third to get the out. But it was more him moving right away on the throw to second base. That's stuff that comes later, especially when you're first learning the position. So he's way ahead of it, and a lot of it's because of the way that he works. So when you talk about he and Ichiro together, that should speed that process up for D.
I think so. And it's funny because Manny Act and I had talked about that kind of play, coming from a catcher where center fielders can see that play beginning to develop. That particular throw came from the pitcher, but usually on a steal attempt, a catcher makes that throw. And Manny's point was if you just are taking 2 or 3 steps in the direction of second base, you're going to come up with it and get a chance to throw the guy out of third base. And that, to your point, Mike, as soon as that play happened, Manny found me on the bench and said, that's what we're talking about. As long as you're moving in the direction towards second base and can field it and make a strong throw, you're going to get an out. And like you say, for a guy who's just learning that position to do that so quickly is well beyond his years.
Well, and that's one of the things, too, with Ichiro, everybody talks about the strength of his arm, which he has a great throwing arm. One of the things to me, everybody talks about the one throw in Oakland, kind of put him on that where everybody realized, oh, this guy can really throw. But you go back and you watch the play and see where he ended up fielding that ground ball, is because when the ball was hit, he charges the ball so hard and aggressively with his speed. It almost seemed that he was in shallow right field by the time he picked the ball up and threw a line drive into third base. I believe it was David Bell that put the tag on the runner. But I think that's another thing that you're going to see from him. And the younger guys will start to do that even more, watching just that type of play out there.
Yeah.
When you talk about Haniger and Gamble when he comes back in already, who already has a great throwing arm. So he's going to bring a lot to this club outside of helping them hopefully offensively and defensively, just all those little things that he's able to do. Because, the other thing, too, is once they get a chance to know, you'll really get a chance to see what he's capable of doing, or even the conversations he's going to do or have with them.
Again, I think he made a similar throw later in the game from center field, was a little bit higher. They didn't get the guy, but again, to see that good arm from D and just the good movement forward, it was an outstanding play.
And that, again, I think that's another reason why it's great to have him down here in spring training. I'm looking forward to seeing him play.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him run as a catcher, and you see a guy that can really fly. We talk about Ichiro and the pressure he puts on defenses, and for me, a guy like D. Gordon puts so much pressure on a defense, especially catchers, and to see him get a chance to get out there and use his speed, that's what I'm looking forward to seeing from D this year.
Yeah, I don't know how often we're going to see it, but the combination is something that Scott talked about yesterday with Ichiro, because you have D, one of the better leadoff hitters in the game right now, and then, of course, you're going to have Segura hitting behind him, but you have a chance to have Ichiro, if he's hitting ninth, you have Ichiro, Gordon, Segura hitting. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch, that combination of hitters. Looks like Rob has pitch count up to 35 now. And Ryan, this is somebody that's really having a good spring. Only giving up 1 hit coming into this game today, but struggling here in this inning.
Yeah, and what a story too. I mean, it's been pretty well documented about what he went through last year, physically, mentally. And here's a guy that, is he going to make this team out of spring training? He's on the outside looking in, but he's done so well up to this point. You can just notice, this second inning right now. You can see the body language too. Everything's starting to slow down in between pitches. He's looking around. But this is when you want to test guys like Rob Whalen. What do we have here? You look at a guy like that. He's going to help this team at some point this year. That's for sure. He's young. He's got great stuff. Mentally, he's overcome some barriers. And, I mean, we're talking about a guy who nearly walked away from the game last year. And the Mariners said, look, get yourself right, come back. And let's figure this out. But he's looked so good. But right now, everything just looks a little flatter, except for that last breaking ball. But it's a great story, and I'm looking forward to watching him throughout this game and throughout spring training.
Yeah, and we'll go on and move to the bottom of the second inning. It'll be Mike Zunino leading things off for the Mariners.
You can choose the location and games that you want to see, all while receiving significant savings over single game prices. Whether purchasing a 20-game or 40-game plan, you'll become a Mariners season ticket holder and gain access to great benefits. Pick out your plan at mariners.com/flex. Well, it's spring training. The players are getting ready for the regular season. So are we here at Ruth Sports. And the players, the former players anyway, are taking over the broadcast. Mike Blowers is with Ryan Rowland-Smith and Dan Wilson. I thought it was interesting, guys. Johnny Cueto out on the hill. Sometimes you'll see those National League pitchers get in a few at-bats, even if they're in an American League ballpark. They will hit for themselves. Johnny Cueto deciding to just focus on pitching tonight. And that's not a bad thing.
No, that's a great point, but I think in spring training, that's probably all that he really wants to do. I think it's amazing. Ryan, maybe you could have extended your career if you'd had that big twist and a little shake in there. Yeah.
Well, see, Angie said former player. I'm thinking, man, if I could mix in a couple of these different looks, I might be able to get back out there throwing about 78 miles an hour. But no, it's funny you mention that. We saw Johnny Cueto in that first inning do it a ton, change his looks. And this is something that guys around baseball are starting to try and do. That was pretty stock standard, that one right there. But he does that little quick step, everything else. And when you look at the way a lot of these hitters, Mike Zunino, he's got a little bit of a leg kick, but you see a Justin Turner, a guy who Cueto is going to face a ton with that big leg kick. And just trying to time that up has got to be so tough. I mean, is that tough? Have you guys faced anyone with the different looks?
No, I think that's something that's kind of developed over the last 2 or 3 years. And I think, it's one of those things he just did on that last pitch. And it's one of those things that it kind of spreads like wildfire in the dugout when you see that. The hitters at the top step are like, hey, he's got that quick step. You got to be ready for that. And I think, with the onset of power becoming such a bigger factor for hitters now, leg kicks have gotten a little bit bigger. There's a little more load that goes on, and I think we're seeing more and more guys kind of get to that little quick step because it's murder on guys that have the big leg kick when they're hitting in the box.
I think for me, the thing that was probably a little more common were guys just changing arm angles, not necessarily. quick pitching you
Yes.
or the big turn or changing in that direction where there's more deception to it. Makes it a little more difficult. But, it's also one of those things you would wonder why everybody doesn't do it. Well, it's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. And pitching is all about timing and sequencing of your mechanics. And, a guy like Johnny Cueto makes it look easy. It makes it look like he's having fun out there, changing his looks. But it is not easy at all. And, just back to Dan's point, too, when it does spread through the dugout and the bullpen. I remember 2007, 2008, J.J. Putz. He used to come from the stretch position, big leg kick, boom. And then every now and then he'd mix in that slide step with no one on base. And he used to mess with the hitter's timing, and he was a guy who loved doing it. Well, next thing you know, we got the bullpen coach bringing us out early that afternoon saying, hey, guys, let's try a little slide step with no one on. And it does. It spreads. Guys like, I'm going to try that. Mind you, JJ's throwing about 96 with a split.
Right.
When you're 88 to 90 as a lefty, you have to try and create some kind of deception.
Quick 3 outs for the Mariners. So as we move in to the third inning, it's the Giants 2 and the Mariners nothing.
No doubt it's back, folks, and Root Sports is taking you to Peoria for Mariners spring training coverage. Tune in Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific to catch the Mariners taking on the Cincinnati Reds in Cactus League action. Root Sports, your home for Mariners baseball all season long. Tonight they've got the Giants actually face the Giants again tomorrow, and they'll see them 4 times over the regular season. And pretty quick out of the gates as we get you back to Mike Flowers, who has company there in the booth, Ryan Rowland-Smith and Dan Wilson, guys.
Thank you, Angie. We were chuckling a little bit in the break, Dan, and the thing that's amazing to me, this is the 25th year of this stadium here, and it's a terrific ballpark, and they're always making additions to it. You and I were actually in one of them today, one of the suites that they have down the left field line, talking to some fans earlier today. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know, and I don't know if you knew it or not, Ryan, but the first year that we were out here in '93, there was no stadium.
Right.
So we were on the road the entire spring.
Oh, wow.
Now, the good news, it was in Arizona, so most of the trips are short.
Right.
But still, it gets old real quick.
And you had the Tucson trips too, right?
We still had Tucson. Yeah,
right.
Tucson was the long trip, which was a couple of hours for us. So that was a long spring down here. And it was also Lou's first year.
Right. I can't imagine he enjoyed the bus trips every day.
He actually, halfway home a couple of times, he stopped the bus because he couldn't take it anymore and let us have it, which was a lot of fun in itself, trying to figure who this guy is that's screaming in spring training. But it was a lot of fun. One thing I did hear, though, your first year here was in '94, the first year of the season.
Yep.
I heard we tried to get a trade for you in '93, but you refused to come over until the stadium was built.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what happened, Blow. That's unbelievable. Well, we can look at it another way, though. I think it kind of prepared that '93 season, prepared us for the '94 season when the ceiling tiles fell. And during the regular season, we were actually on the road for the rest of the year. We ended up I think, playing about 30 games on the road straight. And
5 weeks almost.
And if it weren't for the baseball strike on August 12th that year, we would have played the rest of the season on the road.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. But, yeah, it's a great stadium here. And Ryan, did you ever have spring training in Florida?
I did, yeah.
Preference?
I had a couple. Had Fort Myers,
yeah.
Minnesota Twins, and then Fort Myers with the Red Sox actually, and Kissimmee, Florida.
Kissimmee?
Yeah, I much prefer spring training here in Arizona.
Yeah.
But,
Dan, you too?
Yeah, I don't think you'll talk to a guy that doesn't prefer it here. And I think, Blow, I mean, one of your teams, the Dodgers down at Vero Beach, I know for us with Cincinnati, we were in Plant City, Florida, which was between Tampa and Kissimmee, actually. Orlando, and that drive down there was a good 3-4 hours down to Vero Beach, and
that was a long spring.
That was. And as a young player, you're on every trip, and so you're in the bus early, and you're on the road.
Well, the other thing, when we were talking, Dave and I were talking about it in the first inning, is here in Arizona, with especially now that there isn't a Tucson trip anymore. But for the fans that come down here, most of them are going to be down here for 5 days to a week. And even if the Mariners are on the road, it's easy. You're a half an hour or two wherever they're playing. So you can still watch them all week long if you want to, which makes it nice. That's not the case in Florida. And I agree. I think that most players would rather have spring training here.
Yeah.
And a lot of the teams are here now.
Yeah, the only complaints, you'll hear pitchers say, the ball flies here. I've got my breaking ball doesn't spin. But I'll tell you what, you have a week of those 2 or 3 hour bus rides, you don't care. You want to have spring training right back here. Rob Whalen, he was a guy with the Atlanta Braves. And they have a great facility out there at Disneyland. But I'm telling you right now, and we talked about last inning, he's stuff flattening out. He looks good this inning. I guarantee you there's no complaints out of him coming out here for spring.
It's funny when I hear pitchers talk about that, because you guys all cheat anyway. Where's the pine tar at? You're talking about can't spin the ball. Give me a break with that.
And half the time, too, I mean, we're watching.
He didn't deny it.
That's a full bench down there. You look at the amount of players in that Mariners dugout.
Yep.
As a starting pitcher, you're not going on the road unless you're pitching. But when you're a young guy, I was a Rule 5 pick with the Minnesota Twins, 21 years old. I was doing every bus ride, pitching or not. I was on every bus ride. Oh, man, it was a tough one over there in Fort Myers.
Why would they do that?
Why would I be on every trip?
Yeah, every trip.
To back up or to try and get innings or whatever. I mean, it was, and those late, roster guys, that 35th to 40th guy on that roster, those pitchers, they're probably going to go on every trip.
Were you starting or relieving at that time?
I was just trying to get innings. I was 21 years old and coming out of A-ball, Rule 5 pick. And you guys talked about Rule 5, and I want to talk about that tonight, actually. Because, Mike Ford's in this lineup.
Mike Ford,
yeah. It's the most bizarre transaction that in sports, in my opinion. And I remember, here's a funny
still
story.
to this day, I've talked about it a lot. And we had Jerry DePoto in here, the GM for the Mariners last night, and I had him explain exactly how the mechanics of it all work. And it still can be confusing at times. But go ahead, Ron.
Well, no, I remember I was 20 years old. I was in Australia, and, I checked my cell phone one morning, and there's like 6 missed calls from a U.S. number. And I was like, who is this? Did I just get released? What's going on? And I go on Google, and my name's on Google basically saying that I've been a Rule 5 pick to the Twins. And I'm looking at this thinking, what does that mean? I understand I'm switching teams, but what does this mean? And then sure enough, 5 minutes later, I'm unprepared. Terry Ryan was the GM of the Twins. And he calls me, and he says, hey, welcome to the Minnesota Twins. Glad to have you. And I said, hey, Terry, I've got to stop you. This is going to sound really weird. What does this mean? What's happening right now? Because I had no idea. And he had to spend a good 5 or 10 minutes explaining it to me. And you imagine, in baseball in Australia is not the biggest, it's not the most hype sports. You're trying to explain to your parents, I just got Rule 5. They're going to be like, well, what does that mean? I have to make this major league team. They like me, but they only like me to the point if they keep me on a roster and take a roster spot, which is a valuable thing. A spot on a 25-man roster is a valuable thing. Or you're getting shipped back, and then you got to change your uniform again. You got to get all new, stuff when you get back to spring training, everything. It's just so bizarre.
Well, Mike Ford, who is Rule 5, is here with the Mariners again, playing first base. Off to a little bit of a slow start, but been swinging the bat better lately. And we just talked to him the other day. He was in the dugout. Seems to be having a great time. But I wonder what goes through his mind. He's gone through all the paces. Unlike you, he's not 21 years old. He's been through the paces of this, so he understands what's going on. I would look at it more as an opportunity if I were him than anything else, because he has a chance. Because the organization is going to have to make a decision on him one way or the other. Now, eventually, they can make a trade if both sides work it out. But if I were him, I would enjoy it also and understand that, well, look, this organization thinks enough of me to do that, to take the chance and spend some money to get me here.
Yeah.
And if I have a good spring, you never know what can happen because you're going to put the pressure on them. And that's what I'm hoping for Mike, that he really gets it going. He hit a home run the other day in surprise, which was good to see. And just make their decision difficult.
This is that time of year, though, and especially if you're a young player and, they're going to start making cuts and sitting on the top step of that dugout, and you're trying to play GM, in your head as far as how they're going to go, what direction, if you're one of those last guys making the team. Nothing worse, though, when you're a Rule 5 pick, because you walk in every single day, all right, when are they going to drop the hammer, or am I making this team?
Right.
You walk in and go, man, am I going to get shipped back to my old team any day now? What's going to happen? Especially, like you said, when you get off to that slow start.
Right. Dan, when you were traded over here in '94, your first spring here, I can't remember. I'm sure that Lou knew when you came over that you were going to be the starting catcher, but did you know that coming over here? Did you feel that way coming into camp, that this is my job? And
no, and to be honest, coming over from the National League, I was with Cincinnati originally, and coming over from the National League at that time, the leagues were so separate that.
How much had you played in the big leagues coming here?
Only just under a year, about 5 months.
So that was a great situation for you.
Yes, it was a great opportunity, but I didn't know too much about the Mariners because, the leagues were separate, and you didn't really know too much about the West Coast teams in the other league.
Right.
Just because you just weren't aware, or you didn't watch them on TV much, and so I didn't know too much other than Lou Piniella, who I'd had in Cincinnati as a manager. So that's really all I knew, and I knew that Dave Valley, from what I had been told, Val wasn't going to sign back with the Mariners, and so I knew that there was an opportunity to play. But obviously, that's it's you still have to come in to spring training and prove that you're worthy and prove that you can do it, and that's the tough part.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you look at these guys, and especially early in camp, because we see so many of the young players trying to impress and do things. And a lot of them have come from other organizations. Mariners lost a lot of players over the winter too, for a variety of reasons. But you come into camp, and I remember myself, I got invited into camp as a minor league player from time to time when I was with Montreal, and then eventually I was able to get on the 40-man roster, which was great. But I was not making the team coming out of Double-A. I knew that going in. I just wanted to go and play well and have fun. The Expos at the time had Tim Wallach, who was an all-star, so that was out of the question. I knew I was going to go to Triple-A. But then I get traded and I go to New York, finish up the season in the big leagues with the Yankees, and the following year I come to camp, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, this is great. They traded for me. This is going to be my job. First day of spring training, there's 5 of us standing at third. 5 of us out there. And so you start doing the math, and you go, man, I have to do this all over again. There's nothing given here.
No.
And it was a great lesson for me. I ended up having a good spring and made the club out of spring training. Ended up going back and forth all year, but it was one of those things. And I look at these kids sometimes, especially when they're practicing on the backfield. You've been down here this spring. You see it all the time. Yeah. And all those things that go through your head as you're trying to make these clubs. And even though, we're here and we've been through the paces of it all, and we watch these guys play now, you forget sometimes just how much pressure these younger guys are feeling and what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think it's a great point, too, because, there are a lot of guys, to put these games on, you need a lot of players. And sometimes they'll go down in the minor leagues and they have guys that back up, that they take 3 or 4 minor league players to a game. And we see those guys get in late in a game in the 8th, 9th inning as subs. But, those are the opportunities for those guys as well. And we see a lot of guys that come in, especially pitchers. They come in, they get a chance to throw. They throw well. They impress some people. And then it's like, who is this guy? Let's keep inviting him over here, and let's keep giving him some innings. And that's where opportunities are born as well. So there are opportunities out there, but you're right. It's competitive, and it's really for young guys. They come at it and they get after it right away. But for they have to. And the veteran guys, they're more they can take their time. They can ease into the season a little bit more. But for those young guys, there's a lot of competition for spots.
Dan, did you ever have, usually they'll throw in a backup, to finish an inning or whatever. Did you ever have that 20-year-old kid with no name on his back, just throwing about 98, just trying to throw it through a sound barrier to impress a big league manager?
Oh yeah, It's like hitting the mascot, Bull Durham. I mean, they're just out there bailing and wailing, and the ball's going everywhere. But you can't blame them. You go out to talk to them, and the sweat's just dripping off their face because they're working so hard. And that's for catchers that can be a nightmare at times.
Well, and if you're a veteran hitter, that's an at bat you do not want.
No, exactly.
That's pretty funny. Because they will. They're just trying to throw it as hard as they possibly can.
Yeah, and you are dying to get in there too. I remember being one of those backups, absolutely dying just to get in and just blow it out a little bit.
Yeah, nice double play for the Mariners to get out of the third, the bottom of the third. Hopefully they'll score a couple of runs. They're behind 2-0.
They lead it 2-0. So many teams from the Northwest are headed down there to Arizona for a big tournament this weekend. That's the Sammamish Baseball Club, 10U and 11U, along with a few parents in the background. All these kids dreaming one day of being on that field and being a professional baseball player, which begs the question, Mike, your first baseball experience professionally was?
You'll never forget that one, Angie, but it was in Jamestown, New York, in the New York Penn League, of all places.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know what it was like for you guys, but for myself, having been drafted and signed out of the University of Washington, I knew that there was the minor leagues. I wasn't sure how all of it worked or really what the different levels meant or even where I was going to end up, but they sent me to Jamestown, New York, the Penn League, which they had 2 short season A's, and that was the higher one, which mostly college kids went to.
He really
But I'll never forget going and flying across country. I believe, I can't remember where, but I think I flew into Pittsburgh maybe. And then from Pittsburgh into Jamestown, and they had us on a little prop plane. And it was the worst thunderstorm, so we were just knuckleballing in.
Knuckleball Express.
Yeah, but we make it in there, and you talk about sweating. I was the whole time. I did not like it at all. But it's funny. So I go to the hotel, and everybody has roommates in the minor leagues. And Doug Duke, who was a catcher from Alabama, I think he led the country in home runs that year, had signed, and Doug was, were you going to share a room? Well, there was one bed, and Doug was in it. So I come walking in late, and he just points at a cot over in the corner of the room. So that was home for me for a while. But the one thing that I'll never forget, because you really have no idea, and just basically if you're going to play and you get a chance to sign, you're typically one of the better players in your area, and you feel pretty good about things. I just could not believe how good everybody was when I got there. Yeah. I went out the next day for our workout in Jamestown, New York. Gene Glenn was our manager. You probably know Gino. And he just says, you know, we get out there and we start working out. And at the time I was playing shortstop. I signed originally as a shortstop. And I could not believe, Tony Wellborn, I believe was his name. I took batting practice off of Tony. It was the first time I'd ever seen 96 miles an hour in my life. I don't think I fouled a pitch off. And after a couple of days of that, I remember calling my dad back home, and I said, I'm going to be home quickly because these guys are really good. And you lose your confidence right away.
Yeah.
And then you kind of have to build it back up. But the first experience, that first time, and eventually they ended up sending me to Bradenton, which was their rookie ball team, just to get down there and kind of get away from it all. And then I finished up in West Palm, their high A ball, by the end of the summer. But there was a lot going on that first year, and especially in between the years. It was brutal.
That's the toughest. The mental adjustment's always the toughest.
And I can't even imagine for you, Ryan, because you're coming over to this country trying to figure all that out.
Well, I already knew.
How old were you?
I was 18.
18.
I already knew, everyone was good. Put it this way, I got over here and Arizona, the Arizona League, I guess you can call it, rookie ball, Z-ball, whatever you want to call it, was my first year. So I got kind of a soft landing because I got to stay in the same spot. Wasn't much travel involved or the whole thing. But, it's funny you mentioned looking around to see who you're up against. The second day our second spring training game, out on field 20 back here somewhere, with a bunch of 16 to 18-year-olds. I'm operating the radar gun. You have to sit behind the screen and do the chart in the radar gun. Jorge Sosa, who was a converted outfielder, was in the organization. He ended up pitching a little bit with the Braves. Wham, 100, first pitch. And I'm like, all right, how long is this work visa lasting? I'm pumping 86 right now. And I'm like, oh, no, I've got no shot. But then
86 pretty good for an 18-year-old.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Left-hander, that's pretty good.
There was some guys even back then throwing hard. But
I know.
That was a soft landing. But my second year, real professional baseball, was in Appleton, Wisconsin. Now, I'm from Australia, from a little beach town. I've never played, competed, worked out in snow or freezing cold. I'm like, what are we doing outside right now? The first week was snowing out. Now, I'll tell this one story. So the Outback Steakhouse, at this point, look, we don't have Outback Steakhouses in Australia, right? Let's put it that way. And I don't have a gold card or anything, but put it this way. So we're snowed out, and the manager, Gary Thurman, said, hey, the whole team, I'll take you to Outback. They had a grand opening in Appleton, Wisconsin. So the whole town, I felt like, was super excited because of getting the Outback Steakhouse. And there's balloons and all this kind of stuff out the front. I'm like, Australian restaurant, this might be all right. Walk in, and there's all the tacky Australian stuff on the walls. The food's good, don't get me wrong. Sit down. Well, the staff is putting on Australian accents, right, to get in the theme of the restaurant. I'm sitting there, and I was a shy kid. I'm sitting there going, oh, man, I don't even want to speak because they're going to think I'm so into this restaurant. But that was Appleton, and I remember we had host families too. And that was I've never had a host family in my life. And they said to us day one. Now, I wasn't a prospect by any means whatsoever. My roommate was from Canada. My host family was not happy because they'd been there enough as a host family that they get prospects. And if Shin-Soo Choo came up through the Mariners, and Shin-Soo Choo said, I'm not having a host family. I'm going to get an apartment. So they were supposed to get Choo, who was a big-time prospect.
Right.
And they were mad because I was stuck with the scrubs from Canada and Australia. So we're like, sorry. So literally that lasted 2 weeks. And then they said, we're not doing this anymore. So we're homeless. But that was my first experience. That just the lifestyle change was so dramatic. But, and plus it's amazing what that does to you on the field. I ended up leaving there 2 months later with a 7 back down to Everett, which was great. I had great host family, the whole thing. But that was my first experience. That was crazy.
Danny, high draft pick. It had to be a little different for you.
Well, I mean, in some ways, but in other ways, really not. I think, I signed out of the University of Minnesota and signed with Cincinnati and was able to get down to Charleston, West Virginia, which at the time was the South Atlantic League. I didn't know it at the time, but Charleston, West Virginia is the capital of West Virginia. I'll never forget that now. But the Charleston Wheelers was our club. The interesting thing about that club was that we had a young shortstop who was out of the University of Arizona that we signed, who when I arrived there was hitting $150, something like that. And they as guys struggle, they all try to do what they can to survive, and he had an unbelievable arm. It would rival yours, Blow. And this guy was thrown off of the bullpen one day just to see. And this kid's name happened to be Trevor Hoffman, who turned out to be a pretty good player, pretty good closer. So it was interesting. I'll just never forget playing with Trevor, and that's the great thing about baseball is it didn't work out for him with the bat, but because he had that great arm and then developed that great changeup, he became the great closer, and obviously going into the Hall of Fame or had just gone into the Hall of Fame. So we're just it's exciting to see to be a part of that and see kind of history in the making.
Bring Dave Valiant from the studio. Val, I believe you started off in Bellingham, if I remember correctly.
I did, but I tell you what, guys, I'm just loving hearing all your stories and where you came from and how you got started in this great game that we've all been so blessed to be a part of. It's such a great adventure, isn't it? You get started, you don't know what's in front of you. I was 17 years old, grew up in New York City, got on a flight. I came out west, Blow, when you went back east. Back in 1978, landed in Seattle, because I signed with the Seattle Mariners. I landed in Seattle and got on a little puddle jumper up to Bellingham, Washington, and started playing for the Bellingham Mariners at that time. Al, Bellingham's an amazing city right now, but back in 1978, all there was like a Fred Meyer and Western Washington University. And for a city boy like me landing there, it was kind of culture shock. So we got started going out to Joe Martin Stadium, and my first night in professional baseball, I go 3 for 4. Now I'm 17 years old. I'm playing against all these guys that just came out of college. And I remember on my way back to my apartment thinking, man, this is going to be easy. About 10 days later, with no hits, just like you, Blow, I called my mom. I'm like, you know, Mom, I don't know about this baseball stuff. I don't think I really care for it very much. But I was humbled in a heartbeat, in a New York second. What a great way to start the game. You know, professionally recognizing, wow, this is my job now. This is not just summer baseball where I'm going out and having fun. This is how I'm going to feed myself. This is my occupation. And there was a lot of growing up to do from the time I was 17 till the time I got to the major leagues when I was 23.
Which is, Val, really is a great thing, because I didn't even know how to do anything. I was coming out of college. I can't imagine being 17 and having to take care of yourself. That had to be something in itself, much less try to get some hits. So
yeah, I certainly didn't know what I was doing.
After 3, it's the Giants 2, the Mariners nothing.
Celebrating the start of the season with Kids Opening Day presented by Boeing. All youngsters are invited to join a pregame parade around the field. Plus, they'll receive a free Felix Hernandez t-shirt. So be part of the fun by picking up your tickets now at mariners.com. All right, back to Mike, Ryan, and Dan.
Thank you, Angie. Rob Whalen's night has done 3 innings for Rob. Chasen Bradford going to take over in relief. Ryan, what'd you think about Rob Whalen? We talked about earlier. He really pitched well coming into this. He's somebody that's trying to impress. Has been in the big leagues the last couple of years, back and forth. What do you think?
He looked good. I mean, you know, the second inning, and this is that time of year where, I mean, he's auditioning right now.
Yeah.
You know, let's be honest.
There's pressure involved.
There's pressure involved, and you walk away from that second inning, and you can let the wheels fall off 100% because you want everything to go perfect. You don't want to show any, you know, chink in that armor. You want to show that you're just consistently rolling out there. But this staff and this front office understand that that's just not how baseball works. You're going to struggle. To see him come back in that third inning and get back into a rhythm like you saw and make some big adjustments, even with runners on base, was really good to see.
I thought it was interesting, Dan. yesterday when I was talking to Jerry, and Marco Gonzalez's outing. Struggled a little bit with his command for the first time. Still pitched great at the end of the day, but he was in trouble a couple of times, just like Rob was. And Jerry made the comment that in spring training they want to see them in a little bit of trouble, because up to that point Marco had been cruising along, and that's what he said. He was just cruising. We want to see some guys out there and see how they're going to react and do. And I think that's probably true for Rob also, because he'd only given up one hit coming into this outing.
Yeah, and I think, interesting to go back to Gonzo's outing yesterday was, I thought the one thing he did really well was pitch inside, and I think he's a guy that needs to do that to survive, and I thought he did a good job of that last night. But you're right to see him in a little bit of a trouble, to go into the dugout, and Ryan, you've had plenty of these conversations, and as catchers, that's what we need to do. We need to go into that dugout. We need to talk about it. We need to talk to them, help them make the adjustments that we see, that we feel like they need to make, and then we go out there for another inning and try to make those adjustments. And I think that's what you get when you've got new catchers with new pitchers. You've got them feeling each other out for a while to make that chemistry work, so that by the time you get to the season, you're ready to roll.
Especially a guy like Marco Gonzalez, when we saw him at the end of the year, the struggles he had second, third time through the lineup. So him especially, you want to see him get into a little bit of trouble, and how's he going to react? You always want to see how they react. I mean, these guys see it all the time. And to your point too, having that relationship with that catcher, it's interesting. Last night you had, I believe Marjama was catching last night.
Yes.
With Marco. So you look at that and say, okay, Mike Zunino, can you pair? How many times can you pair up? And obviously it depends on the schedule and everything else. How many times as a pitcher in spring training, I want to be paired up with the guy who I'm going to pitch to that season for 30 starts, because that is so important.
Yeah, those relationships are really, really important. I think it was Freitas that had Gonzalez last night. But I thought they did a great job of moving the ball in and out, and that's what Marco's going to do, because when he gets that second time through the order, third time through the order, that's where that becomes very, very important. But you're right; those relationships have to start. They have to start early, and you have to go through the struggles. If it's smooth sailing all the time in spring training, you're not going to know what to do during the season when those kinds of things happen. And Ryan, you made a point earlier that I think is very, very important. I think this is the thing that Jerry DePoto preaches a lot, is that we're going to use more guys during the season, especially the pitching staff, than are going to be on the 25-man roster that goes north from here. And I think last year was such a great example of that. We had a lot of injuries.
Extreme example of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many injuries. So you may end up leaving and heading north and going to Tacoma and stopping a little south of Seattle, but that doesn't mean you're not going to get there. And so there's a lot of guys here that are maybe the sixth guy or the seventh guy in that starting rotation, but they're going to get a chance at some point during this season.
But how tough is that conversation? You see a guy like Chasing Bradford on the mound right now, Rob Whalen. Right, you're in big league camp. Everything, it's that major league lifestyle, right? And then all of a sudden you go in and you have that meeting, and when you're face to face with the manager or the GM and they say, look, you're going down, you are going to help us at some point, you walk out of that room and you feel pretty good. But I've got to say, the gap of, when you talk about lifestyle and talk about pitching instead of pitching in Safeco Field, you're in AAA, you don't get that feedback. Those road trips are tough. You could be pitching so well and it doesn't even move the needle, because the five guys in front of you are pitching so well, regarding the pitching stuff. So it's such a mental barrier that you have to overcome the minute you leave that room and say, okay, I'm going to AAA, get over it. I didn't make a team. Let's go down and just keep working, keep grinding. But, man, it can be tough.
I was really impressed with both of them. When you talk about Marco, pretty good pitch right there to get the strikeout in the inning. He threw that changeup you were talking about inside and gets the double play to get out of the trouble. Yeah, that was a pretty good pitch. Move on to the bottom of the fourth inning. The Mariners try to score some runs. They're behind 2-0.
performance deserves an all-star bobblehead. Join us Saturday, March 31st for Robinson Cano Bobblehead Day presented by Root Sports. The first 20,000 fans will receive a collectible showcasing Robbie and his MVP award from last year's Midsummer Classic. Tickets are at mariners.com. All right, Mike, Dan, and Ryan, back to you.
Thank you, Angie. Johnny Cueto's night is done. Mariners only gave him a couple hits off of Cueto through 3 innings, but the veteran left-hander Derek Holland going to take over on the mound. Mariners certainly know Holland from his days with the Rangers. So hopefully they can score a few runs here in the inning. And a pretty good start for him in the inning, too. It's interesting to watch spring training in the way that you have to manage all the players, especially the veteran ones. And we have a couple regulars in the lineup tonight. Kyle, who's going to lead things off. And, of course, Mike Zunino waiting on deck. But it's interesting, Dan, especially now this year with the night games incorporated into everything else and how you manage your veteran guys and when they're going to play, how much they're going to play. It's a little bit different for Scott, too, because we haven't seen anything like this with this amount of night games.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when you've got night games and of course, they're kind of finishing up 3 night games in a row, but with tomorrow's day game now, then you have to be careful with the veterans. You can't really run a veteran back out there a day game after a night game like this early in spring training. But it's an adjustment, and I think you know, to your point with Zunino in there tonight, not catching but DHing, I think it's a great way for him to get some at-bats without putting that wear and tear on his body behind the plate, and I think they can get creative like that and use that DH spot to get guys some at-bats along the way. But it's the tricky part for a manager. He's trying to keep a lot of people happy, get enough work for guys, but also give guys some rest and try to preserve them, because you know, it is a really long haul in a baseball season, and we're just getting started.
It's a great point, because people ask me all the time, how many at-bats do you need in the spring before you're ready? And I tell them, you never know. Every year is different. At least it was for me. So for you, somebody that would, how many games would you catch in a year most of the time? Were you 145, 50 in that range or more?
No, typical season probably 120, 130, somewhere in there, 140 once in a while.
Okay, so after you established yourself and you knew that you were going to do that, coming into spring training, did Lou take care of you in that respect? Because you still have to get your at-bats at that point. And maybe sometimes, I don't know, did you ever go to the minor league fields to hit down there too?
Every once in a while, yeah. And I think, you know, in terms of catching, a lot of times they'll have, if they have a regular catcher, they'll kind of let him go every other day. And to Ryan's point, they'll try to match him up with guys that are going to be in the starting rotation, so they're getting used to each other. And we would have occasions too where, you know, you were facing a team that's in your division. You didn't want them to see your pitcher, so he would go down in the minor leagues and throw some innings down there. So as a catcher, I would go down with him, catch him in the minor league game, get some minor league at-bats, and again, it's more, you could lead off every inning, so you're getting more at-bats even though you're catching this guy. And so there's different ways to get creative. I know Edgar was one of the guys all the time where he would go down in the minor league game and would lead off every inning, and you can get, you know, 8 or 10 at-bats in 4 or 5 innings, and it works out great.
This year was a little bit abbreviated because it only worked out, I think, for 3 days before they started games.
Yeah, it was quick.
We used to have a week to 8 days or something like that. Do they still have you guys catching bullpens the entire time when you get down here? Do they still do that?
There's a lot of bullpens early on, but they've started to divide it up a little bit, so it's not like it used to be where you'd come in and you'd catch, you know, 4 or 5 bullpens the first day, and you were using muscles you hadn't used in like 6 months, and you were sore. No matter what you did, you were sore because
I'm glad you said that, because I had one spring, as you know, and I hated it.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work.
How am I going to hit? I can barely walk.
But listen, we loved the guys that were going to be conversion guys, because they took a lot of the bullpens away from us, which was great.
That is absolutely true. Yeah, that is absolutely true. In between that and guys like Ryan here breaking my thumb off down there because I didn't know how to catch the ball. It was brutal. My 93, I was trying to make the team, playing everywhere, including being the emergency catcher.
Right.
And so I just never forget showing up with pitchers and catchers and just sitting in that bullpen. I think after day 3, I had to go steal a bucket, turn it upside down, and sit on the thing because I couldn't squat down there anymore. My legs were just done. So that's a lot of tough work. Oh, pretty good play right there at the end of the inning. Dan, Ryan, it was a lot of fun. Hopefully we'll get a chance to do this.
Enjoyed it, guys.
Down here again. It was a lot of fun. At the end of 4, it's the Giants 2, the Mariners 0.
Pretty good experience hanging out with the fellas, just talking a little ball on TV, huh?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, especially with Dan and Ryan. Those guys, they have a lot of stories, I can tell you that. So it was nice to get them in here for the first time of spring training. And after 3 night games on television in a row, it's nice to mix it up a little bit here.
Absolutely. It's spring training. Come on.
Yeah, it was fun. But welcome back to you, too.
Well, thank you. Good to be back. I was over on the radio side listening to Aaron and Gary and Rico and Shannon. Some laughs over there. There's Juan Nicasio, one of the really fine additions to the Mariner Ball Club during the offseason.
He's somebody that can set up for you, close games when Diaz needs a break. Good fastball, hard slider.
He's got 9-1-2 coming up here for the San Francisco Giants. Trevor Brown, the catcher. RBI double, right center field back in the 2nd inning. Casio, big man, 6'4", 255, coming downhill at you, 31 years old. Pirates, Phillies, and Cardinals last year. Also been with Colorado and the Dodgers in his big league career, which began back in 2011. It's blocked by Marginal.
Casio will be on this team, but Dave, I have to tell you, I was looking at the board today and counting up the relievers, and I know that they're going to start the season with 8.
Right.
It's going to be difficult to try to narrow that down. They have so much depth and such great arms on what they're going to do with the bullpen at the end of spring training. What it's going to look like is, there you go, pretty good fastball after the slider. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that is going to shake itself out, because they have a lot of talent in their bullpen.
Diaz, Nicasio at the back end. Vincent.
Yep.
Pazos, Zepchinski. That's 5 right there. Altavilla 6. Now what?
Phelps
7.
Yeah, you just keep looking at the list, and you know, these guys are going to have to pitch. Some of them are going to be here for sure, but some of them, it's going to be difficult at the end of camp.
Competition's only going to intensify as we move forward here. Today's only March 8th.
That's exactly right.
Bounce foul. Off the bat of Stephen Duggar. The 1-1 count.
It's a good problem to have, though.
Especially given that, as we've talked about, the reliance on guys only going through the order twice.
Well, that's the good news, is a majority of those guys can give you 2 innings if you need it. So I'm trying to think about it today about if they're going to take a long reliever. I don't think that they necessarily are going to have to do that, because they have so many guys that can pitch 2 innings, and all of them power arms.
Well, Phelps certainly fits that.
Dan can do that.
Dan can do it. Nick Vincent can do it. He's done it. Tell you what, that'll, with the depth of the bullpen, right? He might not have to call on and wear out Nick Vincent, because he called on him a lot the last 2 years.
Last 2 years, that's absolutely correct, and I think that you're right.
So keep him fresh, a lot fresher. Nick's going to throw a simulated game tomorrow. Ichiro and Mitch Haniger will bat against him tomorrow. And Casio's 3-1 to Duggar. Oh, nice pick. Andrew, oh my. Well done. 2 away.
We'll take a look at it. Not an easy play. Romine trying to be one of the utility players on the team. He can play all over the infield and the outfield. Pretty good backhanded play right there on a sinking line drive. He's really swung the bat well, too.
Right fielder Gorkis Hernandez will stand in against Juan Nicasio, third pitcher today for the Mariners. For 2 nights for Hernandez, ground out to short and strikeout. Such a bad year for the Giants. How bad was it? Tied for 11th in hitting in the National League. Tied for 9th with the Phillies in hits. Last in home runs with 129 and next to last in runs.
Bumped Gardner. He got hurt.
Oh,
it
man.
seemed that everything went the other way for him. Other guys started to get hurt after that. They didn't play well. They were struggling across the board. But as soon as he was hurt, it seemed that everything.
Was that like mid-May? He was on an ATF or something?
Yeah.
Like, dude, what are you doing on an ATF, man? You kidding me? I can only imagine what Bruce Bochy's reaction must have been. The entire organization.
Probably similar to yours.
Yeah. With a few added expletives. Strike 3 called. 1-2-3. Nicasio find 5th. 2-0 Giants.
Mariners Spring Training on Root Sports is presented by Dunn Lumber, building success together.
Cactus League Baseball. The Giants at the Mariners. Good to have you with us here in Peoria, Arizona. 2-0 Giants. 2 unearned runs in the second inning. While the Mariners looking to get the offense going here, just 2 hits through the first 4 innings. Here's Mike Margima to lead it off, the Mariner catcher tonight. Mike, first time up, grounded out the shortstop. Derek Holland continues on. Veteran left-hander. Served time, some good years in Texas and with the White Sox. Breaking ball for a strike. Andres Blanco has taken over at second base for the Giants. Two and one. Mariners at the Giants tomorrow. The starters, James Paxton for the Mariners and Jeff Samardzija for the Giants. 3-1 to count here to Margima. Margima to be followed by Taylor Motter and John Andrioli. 3-1. Jackknife out of the way, but a called strike 2.
Looks like Derek Holland doesn't have the fastball that he used to, but still not bad. 91 miles an hour. He'll have to locate it a little bit more. Has to be in that 94 mile an hour range.
3-2. Whoa! How many times did his life flash in front of him on that baby?
Well, he was ducking out of the way and just threw his glove up and found a baseball, but this is hit right on the button, right back at him.
Wow.
Yeah. Pretty good reaction.
We'll have to, we should try to get him on and have him do it as Harry Carey. He loves doing Harry Carey impersonations. Aaron Goldsmith went into his files and pulled up a couple of interviews he did last year. It's Taylor Motter. Fouls one off. Watch this. World-class athletes, thank goodness. Returned to center and went back, I bet 8-9 miles an hour faster than he threw it.
Oh, I think you're right about that. It was close to 100.
Motter. Denied by Steven Duggar, who goes to the gap. Takeaway possible. Extra innings. The bottom of the fifth is brought to you by Heritage Distilling BSB Brown Sugar Bourbon. You can't spell baseball without BSB. 2 down here in the home fifth. Giants 2-0. 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors for the Giants. No runs, 2 hits, and an error by the Mariners. Here's John Andrioli. Infield hit his first time. Breaking ball, jumped on it. And he'll get down for a base hit. 2 for 2 night for John.
Mariners hitting the ball hard in this inning. Nice to see somebody get a base hit. Andrioli, little breaking ball. He wanted that down in the zone, left it about thigh high. Typically a pitch like that's going to get hit hard. He takes advantage of it. Solid line drive into left field.
2 hits for Andrioli, gives him 5 on the spring. Braden Bishop struck out by Johnny Cueto on a 2-2 pitch back in the third. Holland, a starter for many a year with the Texas Rangers. Trying to find a spot on this Giants staff. Here's 1-0. A lot off. 1-1.
Just 77 miles on that last pitch. And that's off of a fastball that's been right at 91 this evening.
Two outs and a 1-1 count. Runner at first. Gonna get out of play. Braden Bishop swinging the bat pretty well this year, this spring, coming in 8 for 16 entering tonight's ball game. Got some issues here for Andrioli. He's out 1-3-6. That'll do it. Nothing across for the Mariners in the fifth. 6th inning coming up. 2-0 Giants. Local steel dealer, visit steeldealers.com. Beautiful sky down here in Arizona. We're in Peoria Sports Complex. Dave Sims, Mike Flowers, Mood Sports Crew. 2-0 Giants, couple of unearned runs, second inning. Beautiful scenery. You had some great sunset scenes here as we got underway at about 6:40 Mountain Time. As we get a good look at Edwin Diaz, Mariner closer.
Saw Edwin in his last outing. He looked pretty good. His fastball was 97, 98 miles an hour with a hard slider, able to throw strikes.
Fourth game for Diaz. 0-1, 6.0 ERA in 3 innings. 2 hits, 2 runs, both earned, giving up a home run, 2 walks, and 4 strikeouts.
Well, his fastball at 97 miles an hour.
He's feeling good. Jared Parker, the DH, followed by Kyle Jensen and Austin Slater. 3-4-5 for the Giants. Well, that will get your attention, won't it?
That will get your attention, and it will hurt if you're not able to get out of the way at 96 miles an hour. It's going right at him. Nothing but fastballs, 96, 97 miles an hour here in the inning.
34 saves last year for Diaz in 66 games, a 4-6 record, a 3.27 ERA. 89 strikeouts, 32 walks in 66 innings. Already an easy play for him. One away here in the top of the 6th. Parker had doubled and walked in his previous at-bats. That'll bring up Kyle Jensen, first baseman. He was hit by a pitch and struck out. Diaz and Dan Altavilla just a couple of years ago converted starters, and now guys depended upon heavily by the Mariners. Diaz as a closer and Altavilla as a setup man. Look at him. Good spring for Jensen. Came in tonight 6 for 13. Right field, right at him. Andreoli's there, 2 down.
Fun today walking around the backfields, and they had the weight room doors were open so you could see in there. We're always talking to Dan Altavilla about going in the weight room. He loves it in the weight room.
Is he squatting?
Is
he doing squats?
I was actually pleasantly surprised. He had the bands out. He was stretching and pulling on the bands and doing.
This is light day.
Yeah, no weights at all.
You got to take a couple plates off. You don't have to.
Exactly.
Got to ask him his personal best when he was going heavy, because the way he's built, he's got a 400 or 500 pound guy easy.
Would not surprise me at all. He is strong.
Tremendous foundation, you know. He uses it well.
Having a great spring.
Diaz 1-1. Then you look at Edwin. He throws just as hard and
completely different.
Totally different.
There's first slider, missed with it.
Last 2 seasons, we've seen him throw that slider to tremendous effect. When he's locked in with that fastball and he throw that slider.
Especially when he can expand the zone through the slider just off the plate to right-handers. They have no chance of laying off of it because of his fastball. There's a pretty good one right there on the outside corner.
2-2. Advantage Diaz. That pitch is something else.
Yeah, you have to cheat a little bit as a hitter if you want to catch up to his fastball at 97, 98 miles an hour is what he's throwing in this inning. And so with that slider that's going to be 89-ish, it's tough to lay off of it. There's another good fastball from him. Yeah, in on his hands. You're trying to protect 98 miles an hour. It's just tough AB.
Sure, a lot more comfortable facing Diaz up here.
Good point. A little bit too far off the plate.
Talked to him a couple of times. Boy, his confidence level's up. He's been through the circuit now, season and a half. Got a family, taking care of folks back in Puerto Rico. 3-2. Swing and a miss. Struck him out. I'll take a little gas on the rocks, huh? Wow. 2-0 Giants.
Peoria in just a second. But first, around baseball, there's some teams that have been flirting with this idea of a 6-man rotation. The Tampa Bay Rays, though, they're going the other way, and they have said that they are going to go, for as long as they can, with a 4-man rotation. What do you make of this, Dave?
Well, this is an organization that really was one of the first in the whole sabermetric movement. There's no question in my mind that they've done their research. They've run the numbers. They've done the analytics, and probably feel like they can get away with those 4 guys. Now, as I was looking at it, early in the season, you've got a lot of days off. And maybe they're saying they'll do it the entire year if it goes well, but typically things don't always go so well. Not all those other 4 starters are pitching deep into a ball game, because this is a team that they don't really allow a lot of their pitchers to face a lineup that 3rd time.
Yeah,
so that means
they're going to go with a bullpen, on the 5th day.
So that bullpen better be rested.
Yes.
Right? So if my other 4 guys struggle and limp coming out of the gate, I'm going to my bullpen. Now I'm going to ask my bullpen on that 5th day, hey, I'm going to need 3 innings from each and every one of you to get through that 5th game. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. If you remember the Colorado Rockies a few years back, we're going just rotating. I think it was everyone was only allowed to pitch 3 innings, and that didn't work out so well.
Yeah, well, it's the thing about baseball nowadays anyway, with the sabermetrics and everything, is people are trying to figure out how they can use the numbers to
their talent, right? Yep. So okay, I'm going to use the numbers. This is what the numbers are telling me, but I also have to recognize the skill set of the guys that I have on my pitching staff, and then try to organize that accordingly so that I get all of the innings covered that I'm going to need for 162 games.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting, guys, as we get it back to Dave Simpson, Mike Blowers, how this works out. And Kevin Cash says, I don't know if it's edgy. It'll be great if it works. If it doesn't, it'll be dumb.
Hey, that's sound logic. Why not? If it's not working, get it out. Flush it.
On the other side of it, talking to Jerry DiPozo, it sounds like the Mariners are going to start with a 4-man rotation. They won't need a 5th starter because of the way the schedule is in off days until the 14th of April. So they're going to start on the other side of that equation.
2 outs, nobody on. Andrew Romine, strikeout and line out to short. Stroke left field, hanging up. The fielder Chris Shaw just into the game, and he makes the play. A good 3-inning outing for Derek Holland. 2-0 Giants. See the Giants again tomorrow. One more time here in spring training, and then a home-and-home series coming up during the regular season. In fact, the Mariners will be the home opening opponent for Los Gigantes. It'll be on April 3rd, and then we'll see them in Seattle later on in the summer. Joining us right now, Mariners third base coach Scott Brosian. Scott, Dave Sims, and Mike Flowers with you. How you doing, man?
Hey, very good, guys. How you doing?
Doing well, thank you. First of all, walk me through what it's like for you being in charge of the minute-by-minute happenings in camp, some of your new duties.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been a different camp this year. A little bit more responsibilities, kind of, basically from start to finish, just trying to make sure the guys are in the right place. But, we got some pretty bright people around here. They know where to go.
Scott, so far, according to my tallies, and I have missed a couple of games, but so far I think that you're perfect over there at third base. As a third base coach, you're perfect. In fact, I think you actually had the stop sign up twice, and the guys decided to run through it, and they were thrown out both times. So that's a credit to you. How are you feeling over there as a third base coach so far?
It's getting better and better. Yeah, and there's no question. The first night, it had been a while since I've been over there, so it felt a little fast, but it's getting more and more comfortable as I learn the guys, it's getting better and better. I think I wouldn't say that I'm perfect. I think there was a time I could have sent Segura on a play, and I held him, and I think we probably could have scored him, so I'm sure that won't be the last time.
Well, you had a lot of experience back in Linfield, right, in college?
I had some out there and did a few games in AAA, but it's a different ball game up here, no question. And obviously the guys, the speed of the game, it's faster, but it's a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed being out there, and I know I'll continue to enjoy it as I get more and more comfortable.
I was talking to you at the beginning of camp, and one of the things you said to me, which is true, and it's been great to see the way that some of these guys are swinging the bats, but you were a little bit concerned because they only had 3 days to work out and they were right into games. But I would say overall, as a collective group, they're having some pretty good at-bats.
Yeah, I mean, tonight, obviously, I think we've had some good swings that haven't gone for anything. But, yeah, no question, the first few days of games, the pitching was ahead of the hitting, and that's to be expected with such a quick start of games. But, once you start putting the lineups together and you start seeing guys string good at-bats together, and the runs will start showing up.
How do you go about the get-to-know-you process terms of who's good first to third, who can go first to home? How's that work for you?
Yeah, I think I've been doing a number of things. Obviously, being around last year helped because you get a sense for you watched the game. Obviously, even though it's in a different role, you still watch. But I've doing a bunch of different things, even from watching videos and seeing which balls guys were comfortable scoring on and their jumps and things like that. And then you just out here again, it's every little drill we do, or we do base running drills and things like that, and you start to really learn who's comfortable and the guys who are really kind of heads up on the bases.
When you talk about that and you're doing your drills, I would say some of it is probably fundamental, and some of it is basically, even though you're at this level, you have to teach the guys how to round a base correct, and you go through all those things, and even if it's nothing else, to just remind them.
Yeah, no, I think we played a long time, and it never hurt to hear things. Even if you heard it before, they're great reminders and little focus points. And I think sometimes we get caught up in the big picture. How's our swing? How are we doing defensively? And the base running at times can get overlooked. And we just wanted to make sure, this year we got back to kind of paying attention to the detail in that area as well. And I think the guys have responded well. We're doing a real good job in our workouts and on the bases, really kind of, like I said, paying attention to some of those details.
So with you basically putting together the schedules for everybody, do you just stay here tonight, coming back with a day game tomorrow? How does that work for you?
Yeah, sleep fast, no question. Try to do a little bit of that homework before the game tonight. But, the mornings come real quick after these night games.
Hey, Scott, tell us about the buzz you saw, the buzz you felt with Etro back with this ball club.
Yeah, I was amazed today at the crowd we had for our first and third defenses back there on the field. I was, it was pretty neat, obviously, to have him back and to see the buzz and the energy again. I think, as a player, as a coach, you love to have attention on the team, and we know who he is and what he's meant to this franchise and the city. So it'll be a lot of fun having him around.
You guys are getting to the point. Close, not quite, but close to the midway point here in spring training. What are some of the things over the next week and a half you want to see guys maybe improve on or work on?
Yeah, I think we get to that place where, we've been there, and you get to the midpoint and it starts to become, a little bit routine, and the finish line or the starting line, whatever you want to call it, is still, a couple, 2.5, 3 weeks away. And so you find that balance between getting the guys the rest and the recovery they need, but then at the same time when they're in the game and the innings that they're playing, that they're kind of back up to that full speed and playing it the way that you'd play it during the season. And so I think we just continue to ramp them up bit by bit, and so they're strong, but at the same time refreshed and ready to go when camp ends.
Let me ask you about a hitter here. Daniel Vogelbach, what have you seen difference from last year to this year?
Yeah, it looks really good. Number one, his confidence in what he's doing, his comfort level has really grown up here, kind of being himself, which I think all of us have to do. You have to be yourself. And some of the changes he's made a couple mechanical changes. He's staying behind the ball better and putting a lot more backspin on the ball versus some of the topspin. And I've been real impressed with how he swung the bat.
One of the things for me watching him, he just seems more aggressive to me, and that may go to the confidence that you're talking about, but I think that mindset will really pay off for him if he continues that way.
Absolutely. I think he's always, controlled the strike zone real well, and almost at times maybe to his detriment as a power hitter, where maybe taking some pitches that he might have been able to attack and with more of a focus on working counts and walks and things like that. So it's nice to see him with a more aggressive offensive mindset.
So with all the things that you're responsible for, the lack of sleep that you have, What is the one thing that you still enjoy about spring training?
Spring training is there's kind of there is a pace to it. There's a friendliness to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
With the fans, with everybody, that everybody's getting their work in, but at the same time, there's just kind of an enjoyment level to the pace of the games, and so that part never gets old. It's kind of fun. We've had a few night games, but just getting under the lights again, kind of doing things for the first time again, just all feels kind of fresh.
Yeah. It seems to me, just watching the guys on the field running around doing their thing, it seems like it's a pretty easy group to work with, and You know, when you put your schedules together, you ask them to do certain things, it's no problem. They jump right at it.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say, too, is obviously we have a veteran group, but we spend a lot of time on some team fundamentals and things that maybe not other camps are doing, you know, at the pace we have. And I think the guys have taken it on well. Like I said, we've tidied up a lot of things, even with our pitching fundamentals with position players and picks and things like that. So we have spent a little bit more time on the field with some base running and some of those other things. The guys are doing a great job taking on the workouts and still getting obviously the work in the cages and things like that as well.
Scott, a lot of fun being with you. Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
we'll do it again.
All
Thanks.
right, you bet. Scott Brocious, third base coach for the Mariners, in charge of operational duties here during spring training.
Maybe he can talk Scott Service into to give him a road trip off one day, like maybe tomorrow.
Yeah.
3 night games coming back with a day game.
Talking about, it was addressed with Scott playing the night games. The players like it for him. Scott talking about throws off his rhythm a little bit, but the players enjoyed the rest. That throw from Tuffy a little bit high. Tomlinson with stolen base.
You know, it's one of the things that we rarely talk about and forget about, but spring training, the coaching staff and Scott, the manager, they put in a lot of hours here. We're constantly looking at the players and talking about that as we should, but you forget that these guys, this is when they have to put in a lot of work. It's not all fun, and things have to get done, and it's their responsibility to make that happen. So
they have their eyes on everything.
Everything.
Drawn in infield, 1 out, runners at second and third for Trevor Brown. Batting in the 9-hole, the catcher. RBI double and a strikeout tonight. Holding down Ryan Cook, working his way back from a multitude of injuries. Was an all-star not too long ago with the Athletics.
Well, that last fastball, 94 miles an hour. Throwing a couple of breaking balls.
Made the all-star team with the A's in 2012. Been in parts of 5 big league seasons. Arizona in 2011, Oakland 2012 through 15, Boston in 2015. Mariners signed it before last year, but was never able to really get on the horse and get up to the big club. Trying to get out of a jam here. 0-2. To the gap and some trouble as Andrioli slows it up. Scoring is Hanson. Scoring is Tomlinson. 2-run double. Trevor Brown, he's knocked in 3. Giants with the lead at 4-0.
Hopefully Andrioli's okay in right field. It looked as if maybe that ball hit him in the face as he was trying to dive for it. Take a look at his effort trying to get to it. Hops up. Yep, I think that hit him. Yeah, in his face, right in the cheek. Looks like he'll be okay. Tough kid.
We see where it's red.
Yeah.
Top of the order, Stephen Duggar, the center fielder. That's well stroked, but Andrioli's right there. Runner tags. Brown to third, and he's in standing. 2 away, runner at third. Mac Williamson. Chance to swing the bat. Takes over in 2 slot and right field for Gorkis Hernandez. Ball 1. Four runs on 6 hits, no errors for the Giants. No runs, 3 hits, 1 error for the Mariners. 2 of the hits by John Andrioli. Third by Guillermo Heredia. Fifth Really good insights there from Scott Brocious about the operations.
Yep. Good baseball, man.
One.
There's a good slider on the corner.
Crowd on hand here tonight, 8,230. 1-2 pitch, swing and a miss. Damage done though. Trevor Brown having a night. He drove in 2 more, gives him 3 on the night, and the Giants have a 4-0 lead.
Photos coming using the hashtag #WhereIRoot, and we will try to get your photos on the air. Linda is down there in Peoria, ready to root on the Mariners. And then we've got this one from Crystal, a perfect night for a game. I think they're all kind of perfect night for a game, Crystal, but I'm a little bit warped that way. Again, when you use that hashtag #WhereIRoot, it does give us permission to use your photo on the air. Well, it's been sort of a slow free agent market, and maybe things are starting to heat up just a little bit. Reports are that Mike Moustakas is getting ready to re-sign with the Royals for a 1-year deal. Remember, he set a single-season franchise record for home runs last year with 38. Probably thought he was going to get a big, long contract. Not going to happen. Much different season for Carlos Gonzalez. A bit of a disappointing season. Hit just .262 with 14 home runs. But apparently he is also close to signing a 1-year deal with the Rockies. All right, guys, back to you.
Very interesting. As we get late in the calendar now, it's March 8th. A lot of guys, I won't exactly say hat in hand, but they're not getting the
ready
numbers.
To go to work.
Yeah, they are.
Work.
They're like, okay. Of course, their settle is different from any settle we might do, but it's good that they're going to be back in uniform.
It'll be interesting to watch next winter. I think you heard from Moustakas signing a 1-year deal. I think the majority of them are going to end up with that. And we'll see what happens next winter.
They get a lot of big boys next year. Kershaw, Harper, Manny Machado. That'll be very interesting. Kyle Seager leading off against Stephen Okert. 6'2", 202, 26 years old, out of Riverside, California. Right 3 called. One away here in the Mariners 7th, whether hosting clients or co-workers or family and friends. How about this? Safeco Field Suites. They allow you and your guests to enjoy Mariners baseball from the comfort of a private suite. This premium seating option includes VIP parking, private sky bridge entry, and a catering credit. For more info, visit mariners.com/premium. Beautiful night here in Peoria.
Daniel Vogelback going to pinch hit for Mike Zunino.
Interesting hearing Scott Brocious talking about him. I was talking to Alvin Davis today. He said he looks, and you've used this phrase a million times, you've heard it a million times, he looks hitterish.
Yeah, he's been aggressive. A couple of doubles yesterday. Talked about the long home run that he had hit. Having a good spring. It's just been much more aggressive. Seems that he wants to hit the fastball and hit it early in the count.
In good shape here, 2-0. Reno. One out, nobody on here in the 7th. 4-0 Giants. 3-0 pitch here. 4-pitch walk. We'll bring up Gordon Beckham. He takes over for Mike Ford in the 5-hole. First pitch. Beckham having a strong spring, entering tonight 556, 10 for 18. Most hits on the ball club this spring. 16 total bases, a home run, and an RBI. On the count. Gordon thought that was outside. Takes it for a strike.
Sometimes as a hitter, you know the catcher is set up inside. When they reach across, you think that it's off the plate.
Way inside. Orlando Calixte is the new shortstop. Two. Sent to the new center fielder, Yuri Perez. Makes the play. Two down. Tuffy Gozowicz took over for Mike Margim. Two outs and the Giants 4-0 lead, bottom 7 here in Peoria. Stephen Okert made his big league debut April 19th against Arizona. Went 2 scoreless innings, 1 hit, 2 strikeouts. Appeared in 44 games, 101 on 5.67 ERA. Game for him last year, 16 the year before with the Giants. Here's the 0-2. Plate goes switch straight up in the infield, not too deep in the outfield. Bounces her back.
Giants are going to run some left-handers at the Mariners. We had Holland, Okert, another lefty getting loose in the bullpen right now.
Max Posey heating up for the Mariners. Here's 1-2. It's out of play. Mariners will see the Giants in San Francisco April 3 and 4. Giants come to Seattle July 24, 25. Mariners, and that is opening day. That April 3rd date is opening day for the Giants.
Okay, bring your heavy coat, maybe a scarf if you like.
Count on it. Ditto Minnesota. Opening road trip. 2 games in San Francisco. Then on the 5th, a Thursday, a 1:10 start. Minnesota. That'll be opening day for the Twins. They say snow flurries in the forecast. We will not be. We will not be surprised. Was it the first year they got away with it? And I think without the snow. And then the second year of that new ballpark Target field, I think the Phillies and the Mets got snowed out there in that first couple of weeks. Tuffy's got a 2-2 count. You played in Oakland for a while. You know what it's like in April. Sometimes there in the Bay, that area, that wind just swirls.
Swirls around. It's cold. You bet.
Never mind the temperature. Tell me about the real feel.
There you go.
Say how you want it. It's 52 degrees. Yeah, but it feels like 31. Duffy putting up a battle here. 2 out, 1 on. Mariners down 4-0. Now, Stephen Okert gives up a walk, strikes out 2. 8th inning coming up. Sports is brought to you by Dunn Lumber, building success together. By Safeco Insurance, find a local agent at safeco.com. Do more. And by Jets Chevrolet, shop 24/7 at jetschevrolet.com. The mighty and impressive Hoover Dam. Holding back the Colorado River. Goes back to the FDR administration as you look at Max Posey, who takes over. 6'8" right-hander. Big Max will be in his 3rd game. He's got an 0-0 record, a 2.25 ERA in 4 innings. There's Jared Parker. Parker 1 for 2 with a walk. Calamano goes to first base. Ball finds him immediately.
No problem. A backhanded play.
Zach Schenk is at third. Chuck Taylor in right. Gordon Beckham at short. One away here in the 8th. There's Jerry Sands. Breaking ball for strike. Max Bozier turned 25 on August 23rd. He's at Raleigh, North Carolina. 6'8". Pitcher, 220 pounds. 3 games last year with the Mariners, no record, a 7.36 ERA. Excuse me, swing. Monter leads Max 2 away.
I can tell you, as a hitter, it feels that he is basically standing right on top of you.
Quick 2 outs here in the 8th. Chris Shaw will be the hitter. Posey did the bulk of his work last year at Tacoma. 13 games, a 1-4 record, ERA 7.39 in 31 2/3. And here on 2.
Pretty good changeup right there. Saw his breaking ball to the right-hander with the lefty up there. He goes changeup at 85. His fastball been 90-91.
2. Max made his big league debut June 22nd last year, part of a 9-6 win against the Tigers. Swing and a miss, struck him out. Good outing. 2 ground balls to the first baseman and a strikeout. We go bottom 8, 4-0 Giants. Enjoy more Mariners baseball for less. New this year, 25 BECU value games on select Sundays, weeknights, and holidays. Save big with select bleacher and view seats for only $15, or main and club seats for $30. For a full lineup of games, go to mariners.com/value. A hard throwing right-hander in here now, Julian Fernandez. Taylor Motter's going to be his first batter. Taylor Motter tonight, this will be his third plate appearance, a strikeout and a fly to center field. This guy's all arms and legs too.
Well, that first fastball was 95 miles an hour. He was just getting loose. 98 on that one.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
Remember you and Val and Jay talking about during your time, particularly early parts of your career, some bullpens would have one or two guys.
Yeah.
Everybody does
Everybody.
it. Nasty pitch.
I've said it. I think it's in today's game, it's the hardest time it's ever been to hit. Starters are out there 2 times through the lineup. Then you go to those guys out there, the power arms. It's difficult. Man, that's a pretty good fastball at 97 right on the outside corner.
One down here. The Mariners' 8th. How many times a day does he get sneaker requests? Chuck Taylor.
Now he gets to the big leagues, it's an easy shoe contract for him.
Oh my goodness. All right, having said that, I'm a root for him. Of course, he's wearing another brand. Oh, come on. How does he not get hooked up? At the end of the bat. Nice play, 2 down. So 2 outs in the Mariners' 8th inning. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Seattle Mariners. May not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Seattle Mariners. Luis Liberato. Told that there was one gentleman named Chuck Taylor who played in the big leagues by the name of Chuck Taylor. 1970s for several teams. Forward 2.
Back-to-back fastballs, both of them at 99 miles an hour.
And he's been sitting for the last 2 hours.
Yeah, and then he mixes in a curveball just for fun.
0-2 strikes. That was nasty. Fernandez with a just spectacular breaking ball there as we go to the 9th. by Giants pitching. 4-0 as we begin the 9th inning. Alan Hansen. Max Posey. And looks at ball 1. Hansen came in as a pinch runner back in the 7th. Second base. Two and 0. There's a strike. 6th pitcher tonight. Max Posey. Rob Whalen started. Chasing Bradford, Juan Nicasio, Edwin Diaz, Ryan Cook, and now Max. Two and 2. Out to it straight away. Not deep for Hansen. Snap off a breaking ball didn't work.
Yeah, probably tried to overthrow it.
Full count here. Walked in. So that's how the 9th inning starts. Bring up the shortstop, Calixto. The runner picked off, and a 1-3-6 put out.
And good timing with the throw over to first. Strong throw by Motter. Gordon Beckham. I think he ended up tagging him in the face.
One away.
That's a good breaking ball.
Good time to work on it. Big Max, 0-1 pitch. He's got him 0-2. See if he can put him away here. 0-2. Long look by Max, 3rd round pick by Atlanta back in 2014. 1-2.
I think outside of just the one breaking ball that he tried to overthrow, kind of slipped out of his hand. He's had a pretty good curveball tonight. Last one right on the outside corner.
Two for Max Posey, Cary, North Carolina. With UNC Greensboro. Most wins he's had in the year 5 back with Carolina in the 2016 season. He had the 4 that he won in Mississippi, so he went 9-6 that year. 2 away. Mariner baseball from spring training is always live with MLB at Bat. The app will keep you connected every day with live radio calls, video highlights, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB at Bat now. It's your #1 Mariners app. Andres Blanco. 2 away, top of the 9th. Max is ready. 0-1. Long foul ball, so 1-2.
For Max's fastball tonight, right around 91 miles an hour. We've seen the curveball to the right-handers, left-handers. You see the changeup. He's thrown a couple of changeups here to Blanco. Changeup's been 85, 86.
Ball and 2 strikes. Catcher Justin O'Connor is on deck. Bolsey trying to end it right here. Count run full. Trying to end it right here. And missed down low. 2 walks in the inning. So O'Connor will indeed get a chance to swing a bat. Struggling.
It really is. Fastball command hasn't been there in this inning. Pretty easy first inning for him. The second inning here has been the problem.
Stottlemyre Jr. taking it all in. Two no. Pitch 2-1.
His best fastball at 93 miles an hour.
Count evens at 2-2. 2 outs, 1 on, 4-0 Giants. 2 in the second, 2 in the 7th. Just inside, count runs full. Third 3-ball count this inning. Here we go, runner goes, 3-2, walked him. Struggle continues. He's walked 3 of the 4 men he's faced here in the 9th inning.
Even in that last at bat, it was all fastballs and unable to find the strike zone.
Yuri Perez. Nobody there. Perez has been bouncing around. He's been with the Nationals, the Yankees. Multiple stops in the minor leagues dating back to 2007. 27 years old. Breaking ball for strike. One pitch. Get down to third, take him right to the bag, inning over. Last ups for the Mariners. Giants have the lead at 4-0.
Still a lot of energy, I can tell you that. They're having a good time out there.
Yeah, they are. 10 and under tournament. Have fun, boys.
Yeah.
Pick up a few W's, won the tournament. New pitcher for the Giants, who are going to lock up this 4-0 game. Arias Maranta. Gareth Morgan, young man from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Remember, he was drafted a few years ago. Gareth Morgan, big kid, 6'4", 220. Clinton last year, 118 games, 17 home runs, 61 runs batted in, his best year in the power department. He will strike out. 118 games, he struck out 185 times. 3-year member of the Canadian junior national team. One-two pitch. Broken bat, fly ball, center field. Away.
That fooled him a little bit in center field.
Sure did. He saw the big swing.
Yeah, took a couple steps back and make a sliding catch, make the play.
Terrific recovery. Yuri Perez. One out. Zach Vinci getting a chance here. Breaking ball, 0-2. To Zach Vinci. Just off the glove of the second baseman Alan Hansen. That'll be a base hit. First hit for the Mariners since the Andrioli single to left back in the 5th.
Well, inside out swing on a fastball. He mistimed his jump. Thought maybe he had a play on it. Vinci will take the hit.
Zach Shank, the hitter. Couldn't catch the bender there. 0-2. Pulled him badly. 2 outs.
Daniel walked his first time up. Didn't see a strike.
4-pitch walk.
Yeah.
Ball 1. Two and 0 to Vogelback. Stolen base. How far can you hit it, Big Daniel? Still hadn't seen a strike. Second plate appearance.
It's another one of those things in this game that has changed. You're up 4-0. Have a couple of outs. Fall behind 2-0 and he throws him a changeup off the plate. And his fastball's 96-97.
Throwing a little shade there, pal?
Just saying.
I'm with you.
Then you turn around and you walk him.
Right.
Because you're messing around with the changeup as opposed to challenging 2-0.
You're loud.
I know that there are a lot of things that change in this game, but there's certain things that just, you know, there should be an automatic, and that's one of them.
Everybody at home, nod your head in agreement.
Yeah.
Here is Gordon Beckham. 7th man to the plate here. Check that out. Scoring in the wrong box. It is spring training.
Yes, it is.
Runners hold 2-1 to count. Three and one. Three-one pitch. Swing and a miss. Beckham with 10 hits to his credit so far here in spring. Down to his last strike. And he draws a walk to load him up and bring the tying run to the plate.
Let's see what Tuffy can do. Pick up a base hit, drive in a couple of runs, keep the inning going. Pitcher is really struggling right now with his command.
He was going great guns there for a while.
Yeah, now they're having a team meeting out on the mound, trying to figure it out. Tuffy had a long at bat his first time up. Ended up striking out, but fouled off a number of pitches.
Tuffy had a big home run Goodyear earlier this week. A long, long home run. Bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom 9. Strike one. Reyes Maranta dug himself a big hole here. One pitch. Breaking ball. 1-2. One-two pitch to Tuffy. Gets away. Runner at third holds. 2-2 the count.
Once he was blocked out by the umpire, he couldn't see how far away from home plate it was. Certainly don't want to take a chance down 4-0. They did the right thing by staying at third.
Selfie Ghost Switch trying to cash in for the Mariners. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, bases loaded. Giants 4-0, bottom 9. Swing and a miss, struck him out with the bases loaded. Giants win it 4-0.
Rob Welling with the start today gives a couple of unearned runs. Diaz was electric tonight, dominant fastball. 97, 98 miles an hour. Pretty good slider again. The Mariners are going to have to find some offense tomorrow. Just 4 hits today, did not score a run.
For Mike Blowers and our entire Root Sports crew, I'm Dave Sims. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We will see you next time on Sunday with the Reds in town for more Mariners Cactus League baseball. Have a good night, everyone.